Hello, eRank. You are here watching eRank live with me, Pam Duthie, and her, Starla Moore. I timed that good today. I'm proud of myself. If you've not been here before, hello, welcome. We are here every week to answer all your Etsy and eRank related questions in the eRank Facebook group and in the eRank YouTube channel. So, hit us with your most difficult questions.
Awesome. Do we have news today? I felt like there was something that we were in
Did
the.
we do a thing?
Now, I know that there was an update to Etsy's policies. Pam, I don't know if you have that link. I haven't been able to find it. I've looked everywhere for it. But on Friday, a bunch of people had told me that Etsy has recently changed their policies on selling items utilizing stock photography in your items. I know that someone had mentioned that, but I wasn't able to find a link. So
No, I've not seen anything about that yet. Have to dig that up. Yeah. So if anyone knows anything about that, you can tell us. We don't know everything. The only quick announcement I've got for UK sellers, if you haven't noticed, is if you're shipping internationally, probably hold off for a day or two because there's more problems with UK postage through the Royal Mail. They announced some kind of cyber issue that's and they're not, as far as I know, they're not accepting international parcels for a day or so because we didn't have enough issues over the holidays, basically.
no, have they? So how are things going with mail to and from? Has that kind of cleared itself up at all? Is it safe for sellers who might want to ship to the UK to do so now?
Coming in, apparently this little attack, they said it's delayed things by maybe about a day, but shipping seemed to be doing okay. It seemed to be clearing itself up. So I definitely wouldn't not ship just now, but let your customers know things might be a little slow. Make sure that your processing times and everything are wide enough because Etsy might be suggesting they'll get there a little quicker than they do. I've certainly had issues with that, but it's getting there. I mean, to be honest, I've had parcels get to the States quicker than people have been able to ship them from one side of the States to the other. You know, it's a big old world. So yeah, it's taken a bit of time, but it's not a nightmare.
That's good to hear. I mean, unless your package got eaten by a fox, because after seeing that photo, that was something else. Then again, over here, we had all kinds of photos of mail trucks tipped over and things from the storm that hit right before Christmas. So
Exactly. There's been so many issues and it's a difficult time of year and it's busy. So yeah, any issues we had leaving the UK still had issues getting into the US and everything. Tina's asking, is the issue shipping from the UK to the US right now? It I first heard it was the UK to the US. It seems to be all international parcels, but it's hopefully just a little blip. Some people are saying it's been absolutely fine. Other people are saying their post office has refused parcels, but it should only be for a day or so. So I'm just not going to post till Monday, basically.
that's probably for the best. I've been holding on
Yeah.
to a package that I need to ship to Amber since before the holidays because I've been too scared. So
Oh, it should definitely be fine from your end if you send it. If we're
okay.
not fixed by the time it gets across, then we're in big trouble. So. Mhm.
All right. Well, it looks like we had a couple questions from the group. So in case, any of you are newbies here, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you join the eRank group link down below. And if you're already in the eRank group and you want to get your questions in a day early, you can do that on Wednesdays via the pin post at the top of the group. That way, if for any reason you can't make it live, you can always just come over and watch the replay on YouTube or here in the Facebook group and get caught up and make sure that your question gets answered. So let's see. I can never remember if your name is Rosemary or Rosemarie. So you're going to have to yell at me because I know that we've gone over this before and I always forget. How do you maintain your edge? My sales are seasonal, but I've racked up almost 800. I have a niche product, religious wall quilts, and hardly any real competitors. I've introduced new collections to deepen my appeal to new audiences, Spanish language, and more price diversity. That said, what else should I do to keep from becoming complacent? Um, Complacency comes from inaction. I think that if you get too comfortable, both trying to reinvent the wheel and generate new products, and by sitting and waiting, both things can be detrimental because there are the sellers that try to make, new things every day, and then they're stressed out and they're not selling anything, but they're still producing products, and acquiring stock. But then there's also the sellers who add a bunch of things and then they step away and never touch their shops again and wonder why is nothing happening. I dare say that it might be beneficial to you. Let's see, creating religious wall quilts, it might be fun for you to try to create some Instagram reels. Um, and think about your niche. If you're trying to appeal to, I'm assuming Christian women. I'm just going to assume that there's probably not very many men who are in the market for a big wall quilt. It feels very much like something that a woman would shop for. I would try to create some Instagram reels. Maybe it could be you talking about your quilts, showing how they could be hung up, a couple videos of you making them, or maybe you could have little, Monday prayers or other videos where they don't necessarily need to be about your quilts. They could be about your brand's message, where people will follow you and get to know you and form a connection with you, but at the same time they're also seeing your quilts. That might be a good use of your time, and it will help you to understand your customers a little bit better. Other social media platforms offhand, I'm thinking Pinterest might be a great place for you, especially if you've got some nice photos. So I wouldn't stay inactive, but I also wouldn't attempt to create 600 new different products just because, it's sometimes creating should take a back burner if you're not moving as many products as you would like. Sometimes it's the marketing of those products that's going to generate the sales.
Yeah, I totally love the idea there, Starla, of like building the religious community,
Hmm.
getting to know people there. I would say, I think she said she's got 800 sales, which I
Hmm.
think is fantastic for what is quite a niche down niche by the sounds of things. So you're doing things really well, and I completely agree with Starla that you want to try new things, but you don't want to try new things all the time. So maybe schedule in your diary. This sounds like crazy, but it's like once a quarter, every 3 months, every 6 months, have a day for doing something different, for being inspired. And you think, what's out of my comfort zone? So is it the TikTok reels? Is it putting your face out there? What we have been seeing in the past few months is a much bigger trend for people searching for specifically the word handmade. So I'm not saying to everybody to go in and put the word handmade in, but what that's telling me is people want to see the maker. They want to see that the stuff's handmade. And I think you could really do that, is if you're not getting your face out there, show how you're making things. Um, because that's what people are wanting, to be sure that their stuff. I think if you're in the States as well, that's kind of a really big selling point, in that probably your market's in the States as well. So people would be really happy to see somebody where they live, not giving away personal details in these, but where they live in the States, hand making their item with, as Starla's kind of said, you having that, your religious, your spiritual outlook on life and everything. So they can really get to know you and want to buy from you, is probably the way to go. But don't push it too hard, but absolutely not going to get complacent, because that's where we've been seeing so many people. I'm sure Style has heard it. I've heard it so much, especially lately. People are going, I've been on Etsy for 10 years. Something must be broken because I'm doing the exact same thing and it's not working. And you're like, yeah, you might be the problem, because if what worked 5 years ago suddenly stops working. So you've got to keep moving forwards and thinking of things.
Absolutely. We have to kind of adapt to the times. I always say, that if you took the top car salesman from the 60s, he was the best. He could sell any car on the lot, but you drop him into 2022, 2023, 2023, he's not going to be able to sell a single car because, it's everything has changed, and things are only going to keep changing. However, what you can do is keep the aesthetic of, that those I would assume that you've kind of got like those home values to your brand. I'm thinking of my grandma's quilt. She had a wall quilt and, had the really pretty quilt hanger. And there are plenty of women on these platforms like Instagram and TikTok and I mean really all social media platforms who, though they are on, social media, they still want to live that lifestyle or build that environment. And maybe it's because they want to be, maybe they were inspired by their grandma and they want their home to kind of feel like that for their kids and grandkids, or maybe, maybe they're giving it as a gift to somebody that they love. So you can always still keep all of those things together while still doing so in a way that's mainstream. It's like Mike from Valley Smithy. We did an interview with him. He's one of our students and he does blacksmithing. He does art with horseshoes. He does all kinds of like very 18th century style wall art and things. And he does it using all like traditional means, but he records it and puts it on TikTok, and his TikToks blow up because people like to see it. Otherwise, they're never going to get to see those things. So this guy who you would assume he's on a farm taking care of his animals, doing blacksmith work. He's the last person that you would expect to be hanging out on TikTok, but his TikToks do really well because people are interested in seeing, his process because they want to kind of experience it. And unfortunately, their phone for a lot of people is the only way that they'll be able to. And you can kind of do the same thing for your niche as well. So
Oh, TikTok is great for I can just picture it now, your granny on her rocking chair sitting on her porch doing her crocheting and talking on TikTok telling her stories. That is, like,
yeah,
huge. So, yeah, don't be thinking my niche is too old for this kind of thing or something, because people just love to connect with people. Another thing when Starla was talking there actually popped into my head when she was talking about, like, the grandma and stuff. When you're putting your posts on social media, people engage better with things that they can talk about, that they can get involved in. So for a certain design or something, you can say, this inspired me by my granny. Here's a little story. Tell me about your granny. And you'll get hundreds of posts because people like to talk about things like that.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then you also get the benefit of engagement as well. So
Exactly. Anything that's the secret for anyone on social media. Don't just post a link that goes, go to my shop and buy stuff. Post a link that people go, wow, I love to talk to you about this thing. Or that is so shocking. I have to share it with my friend. These are what's important for a social media post.
absolutely.
It's in the name, really, isn't it? Social.
Social, not market media, social media. All right. Elizabeth asked, I've been primarily focused on digital downloads, but I'm getting tired of staring at a screen all the time. Girl, me too. I want to branch out and open a shop for physical goods. My plan is to open a decor and small gift shop selling mixed media projects. Would I be making a mistake to be so broad with this shop? Should I narrow my focus on one medium or niche, or can I be successful building a shop around the vibe that a particular audience might appreciate? So, first of all, I have no if you were to introduce yourself and your elevator pitch was, I sell decor and small gifts, or decor and small gifts, small mixed media gifts, small mixed media I have no idea what that means. So that alone tells me that your niche might be broad. However, if you were to choose, like you said, a vibe or an overall aesthetic, or a target audience that could tie those things together, then I think you would be fine. For example, I have been specifically looking at shops that are completely branded in like 70s aesthetic because it's like super popular right now. So I've been kind of getting into it. And I was looking at a shop that did like, the big flowers, and all the color palettes were like, kind of tan and cream and that olive green, and um there's just a very specific aesthetic there. And there were a lot of different products. There were mugs, there were shirts. It was a print on demand shop. But overall I knew, like, okay, this shop is trying to appeal to kind of like a retro 70s vibe. I like this. Now if they had, like, I don't know, if they'd thrown in, well, like, Game of Thrones shirts, which obviously they can't do that anyway. But if they had thrown in, something weird like that, I'd be like, this is an oddball thing. So just think about who you want to work with. That's the cool thing about starting a new business and doing it the right way rather than putting the cart before the horse, is that you can say, like, oh man, I hate teenagers. Cool. Don't make products for teenagers. You don't have to work with any teenagers if you don't want to work with teenagers. If you love dog owners, you can make a shop just for dog owners and you can talk to dog owners all day. If you hate dogs, probably shouldn't start a shop for dog owners because you're going to talk to dog owners about their dogs all day. You get to pick, though, based on who you want to work with and the type of people you want to talk to every day.
Absolutely. The magic word there is the vibe. Starla's got it
Yes.
exactly. If you want to make a broad range of types of items, which most of us are crafty, we can make lots of things. If you want to go broad that way, then go narrow with the niche. We all know shops you can go into that have that kind of vibe, that a certain, you walk into it and you're like, oh, my friend Sophie would absolutely love everything in the shop, and it has t-shirts and mugs and everything else, but it's on that vibe. So pick a direction to go narrow in. So you're going narrow on that very type of person, what they're into, and they can decorate their entire house in the mugs, in the shirts, in the bedspreads, in the absolutely everything. Whereas if you try and hit every type of bedspread and every type of mug, you sort of kind of hit nobody. It sounds like you don't want to narrow down, but the more narrow you are, the more every single time a person sort of sees it, okay, it might not be for them, but they maybe know someone who it's for, so it's easier to sort of pass things on. um I'll do the little. Did I ever do the Squatty Potty story? I don't think I did. Um, so this is a weird one, but a really good one for like thinking about niches and things. And it's in the Daryl Eves book, The YouTube Formula. So I get inspiration from all sorts of places, but he was talking about his viral advertising campaign. I think Starla's read up from some of the other guys
The
involved in
Harmon
this.
Brothers.
That's it. So all these people were involved in this advert, and if you've seen it, it's the pooping unicorn. Probably everyone's seen it. It's the biggest Facebook viral ad ever. And the crazy thing is, right, let's get interactive with this. So this is for a stool to help you to go to the toilet better. So who are you going to market this to? And this is the crazy thing. So they had to pick their first budget, their first spend, their first target, who they were going to send these adverts out to. And this is absolutely crazy. So, so many people would sit there and go, well, it's for everybody poops, So who do we put this out to? But the absolutely crazy thing for this viral advert, they focused in on, Daryl Eves had just heard about a community called furries. Adult people who like dressing up in fur costumes, which sounds like the most random thing, but they're a tight-knit community online of people who are all over the country. So when you shared it in their little community, then you've got someone in Texas and someone in LA and someone here who saw something and went, wow, that is so cool. That is totally for me. I'm going to share that on Facebook to all my friends. And suddenly you've got all over the country with a very small, narrow, focused ad spend that is absolutely bonkers. And yeah, so the most viral Facebook ad of all time was advertised to the smallest niche, pretty much the smallest, weirdest niche I can think of.
Yeah, the Harmon brothers, they've got a book called From Poop to Gold, which is, it covers that, ad campaign among many others, like the purple mattress campaigns and the poopery, which is the toilet spray that you can spritz in, which those are, God, they're all so funny. But the one thing that they have in common is that they all are very weird. All of these ads are very strange, and they make you stop and say, what what did I just watch? But because of that, like Pam said, they went completely viral. So all
Yeah,
right.
that's a trick. Going viral's not easy, but if you do something like that, if you do something that makes people go, "What? Have you seen this?" That's how viral happens.
All right, let's see. So Tina said that she's feeling self-conscious about her photos and she's hoping we can help. So when it comes to high-end shops, is it better for a background to be lifestyle or light or white? I'm struggling with the overall feel of my shop to be an experience for my customers when they come into my shop versus making it look good for Google and for the AI reader. I love eye-catching images that have lifestyle feels and complement the theme of my products, but at the same time, I'm worried about Google not being able to read my images well for search. For my horse shop, I know what horse people like and what horse magazines did for many years when advertising products. For my Riverwood shop, I want it to be a place they feel when they open my shop as if they were walking into a store, though I know that wouldn't translate so well if people are simply finding my individual listings in search on their own. Thoughts? So my first thing would be, don't worry so much about appealing to Google and appealing to, I'm assuming you mean that Etsy's their visual search function. Don't worry so much about those features because that's not where a majority of your traffic is coming. If anything, it's going to be a very small percentage, if any at all. Most of your traffic is going to be from Etsy search, and then of course the traffic that you drive externally. Um, Honestly, your best bet is to test it for yourself because there is no answer to what you're asking. Um, because there's no way for us to predict human behavior. What works for some high-end brands, just because you're replicating it, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you because there are so many other factors that could be playing into your brand perception. And it doesn't just have to be the photos themselves. There are a lot of things that kind of work together. So it's not just the photos, it's the photos alongside the pricing, alongside, what the audience can gather about you, along with the reviews that they're seeing. Um, all you can really do is release a couple products with a different style of background or replicate some of your existing listings with a new background and have an ugly storefront for, a couple weeks while you test. Um, and then decide for yourself if it's worth it to make more changes like that. Don't be afraid of experimenting right now and making your storefront look, you know, not as cohesive as you might like, because we're not in the middle of the holiday season. It's not the holiday rush. You don't need your shop to look pristine right now. You have a little bit of room to play around with things, but you're never going to know unless you test, because there is no way to predict. Even if you looked at another seller who had the exact same target audience as you, they are not you. So I would just test both.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the testing. There is no way to predict the exact combination of things that are going to work, which makes it difficult, but also kind of fun. I think I spoke about this last week, that I really enjoy photography. I wouldn't say I'm very good at it, but I really enjoy photography. But I have pictures from 10 years ago that I really hate, but they're still selling well. I have put up other listings with different photography styles, and my overexposed, badly shot, badly framed, wrong size, terrible resolution pictures are still selling well. So I have to go with what the customer says. At other times, when I released a range of bookmarks, I tried loads of different styles for the bookmarks, and yet one absolutely does way better than the other. I would love to have a totally cohesive shop, but it's not quite working out like that because I like doing science on my shop. I like trying with different things. And I think quite a lot of the time it's you taking a picture of your items, so you can your store can be more cohesive than you think it is, even if you're trying different things, just because it's the similar items and you have the similar kind of aesthetic. So don't worry too much. Try it and see what happens, and also experiment across your social media as well, because what works in your shop is could be very different from what works in social media. But it's always nice to have a few things, and that's the great thing. Like, you can test a listing that has the white background, and then you can test the same thing. You can make another listing and test different things with a more lifestyle background, and you can test something else, so you can get several listings up for the same item and see what happens.
Absolutely.
And totally have fun. I actually, many years ago, I hired a photography student and gave her a load of my stuff and said, take pictures. And she came back with so many great, some of the best. It was a while ago, so photo bombing was a thing. And from my little sculptures, she even did some where they were out in the country and another little sculpture was photo bombing it and stuff. I was like, I would have never thought of fun things like that.
And Tina, the great thing about your products is you mostly use mock-ups, correct? That gives you a lot of, it makes it so much easier because you don't got to go take pictures. You can just slap in different backgrounds with a click and have fun and, switch them out much more quickly than having to set up your camera and your photography space. So you've got a lot more flexibility too.
Oh yeah, have fun with mock-ups then. Yeah,
Yeah.
do arrange, test them out, and get rid of the ones that didn't work and move on.
All right, over on YouTube, I'm just grabbing this comment real quick. The weird world had said that they just started on Etsy with laser engraving, and they see a lot of different YouTubers, but watching a lot of channels isn't good because they all have different theories. One thing that I'll say about my channel, which is Starla and Pam's channel, which is Pam Duthie, we both post over there as well as here on the eRank channel, and what we teach is always based on official Etsy sources, things that can be checked, proven, and the things that we have gained experience through eRank, as working for eRank, having hands-on experience with the data, knowing how the tools work. It's very easy to fall into the trap of listening to too many people on YouTube who speak with a lot of conviction, but who really don't know a whole lot about what they're talking about. Now, there are a lot of great YouTubers out there that I love. Nancy Badillo, I love her to death. I think that she's great. Deborah, what's her last name? Engelmeyer?
Sorry, Deborah, I can never do your last name, but Engelmeyer or something. But
Tizzit.
yeah, she's amazing.
She's awesome. I always recommend Christina Nicole for product photography. There are a lot of great YouTubers out there, but the main thing that you need to do is check for sources and make sure that they're not just citing um, anecdotal evidence, which is things that they have noticed in their Etsy shop. Therefore, it must be correct, because things that you try to replicate that you see working on their shop, that doesn't mean it's going to work in yours. There are a lot of other factors that play in, just besides keyword optimization and having great thumbnails, listing quality scores, their customer and marketplace experience score. If they got featured by like a big Blogger or BuzzFeed, they're going to have way more power to rank and search than you are, just because they were featured somewhere and Etsy gave them some brownie points for all the sales that they made. So there are so many factors that contribute to success. Your best bet is to listen to people who have experience in different areas, who are getting their information direct from a source like Etsy themselves, and just being cautious and asking for sources. If you ever hear a bit of advice and you're like, that sounds kind of sketchy, ask them to cite a source, because if they can't do that, then they likely made it up. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
really.
totally challenge us as well. Like we're
Yes.
human. I try and not be just speaking rubbish, but if it sounds rubbish, ask us, and if we can't back it up, then we might have to backtrack it a bit.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing as well, there's so many people with advice, and Starla's given you a load of great people. We all learn differently as well, and we all teach differently. So pick the people that make the most sense to you. Starla has a fantastic educational background with a lot of psychology and everything's thrown in, so she can explain things in a certain way. Another person might have a different way of explaining things. So just if you hear someone and you're like, oh yeah, I get what they're saying. Many years ago, I did a degree in engineering, and I had so many lecturers that you were like, what on earth are they talking about? And then somebody that could just explain it, and you're like, this is not even that difficult. Why? So if you just get that person or the people that are explaining the things in a way that helps it click for you, because we all learn differently. So yeah, don't feel bad if you're looking and going, okay, I've been told that Pam's good, but actually I don't understand a word she's saying. Perfectly fine. I don't always understand what I'm saying sometimes. It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I commonly have people who are like, this feels like it was written for children. I'm like, I used to be a preschool teacher. Everything that I write is written like it's written for children, but that means that no matter what, everybody's going to understand it. So
Well, that's it, because everyone is so different. I mean, if you check anyone's YouTube channel, I bet at some point you'll see in the comments, you'll see someone going, "You're going too fast. That wasn't clear enough." And in the exact same video, you'll have someone else say, "That was too slow. That was boring. Speed it up."
yep.
Can't win. So you pick the people that teach at the pace and at the way that you enjoy, and that hopefully talk back to you as well. That's when you're doing something like YouTube or something, that's what I really enjoyed, is the people that you can ask questions. That's always very cool. So you've got eRank, you can ask us all questions. And we have in the Facebook group as well, we have loads of other people in there as well. There's Debbie, who is typing away trying to keep up with what we're saying, but and also the rest of the community. There's so many cool people that can give answers in the Facebook group as well, which I really love. I learn a lot from there as well.
All right. Let's see. We've got one more question on our Wednesday thread, and then we'll go ahead and get to the Facebook chat. I know there were a couple in there. Daniel, hi. I'm selling digital illustration / art in my new Etsy shop. Etsy don't offer refunds on digital downloads, but do you think to set myself apart from the competition, I should offer a no quibble refund if a customer is not happy, taking into account some customers may abuse this service? Thanks. Um, so you definitely will have some customers who are, you know, uh, who are buttheads. It happens. Just know that you don't have to, because really you are sending a product that can't be returned. It reminds me of this story that my stepdad used to tell with a guy that he worked with, where the guy would travel to Finland for a lot of business trips, and his wife sent him some naughty photos, back when cell phones were first able to send pictures. But then she got nervous about it and she said, "Can you please send them back?
Oh, bless.
I'm afraid that somebody else will see them. Can you send them back?" So I always think about that story in this context where, you've already sent your product, and there is no returning it, and there's no saying whether or not they've utilized it. So it's really up to you. Will it set yourself apart? Sure. That's why my own Etsy course has a 30-day money back guarantee, where technically somebody could go through, digest the entire course, speed run it, and then want a refund on the very last day. It's possible. Has it happened? Probably. It's probably happened a couple times, but there's a lot more assurance for the customers who are buying to make, when they want to make that purchase, and they are just kind of on the fence, they have that little added layer of security. So my advice to you is maybe start out that way if it's something that you personally want to do, but don't make it your whole shop's identity, because you may reach a point later on where you can't do it anymore, and you don't want that to be like your main pitch. You don't want that to be your main slogan, and then you have to roll back on it.
Yeah, I had a digital shop for a while. I got a bit bored and stopped doing it. But my thought, I don't I don't know how many extra sales it'll get you. Maybe it's worth looking at, but I don't think it would be a massive selling point. However, what I would tend to do is to think more in terms of, you're not going to stick violently to your policies. It's going to be on a case by case basis. Because if
Yeah.
you say refunds across the board, no quibble refunds, then you get people going, haha, scam. Whereas if you have a genuine customer and they have a genuine reason why they want a refund, you can refund them. You don't have to be that stubborn butthead and just go, nope, my policies say, which so many sellers do. Stop with that. You just, okay, I'm going to do a nice thing for you because I'm a nice person, and here we go. So you can choose to give a refund, but if you haven't shouted out about the fact that you do it, if somebody's really grinding your gears, then you can absolutely be like, sorry, policies, can't do. I always like to leave it up for the bigger boys made me do it, not my responsibility. Sorry, can't possibly refund. Etsy doesn't let us, kind of thing. So, yeah. But it won't hurt you anyway for a little while, and see what you think. But my thought is not to make a big song and dance about it.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to head back over to the Facebook chat, and the YouTube chat if we end up getting questions. I do like Deborah Ann's Watercolor World on YouTube. It said in reference to the other YouTubers, it really comes down to experience. There are some out there writing books about different platforms they only used for a month and gave up and think that they know it all. Exactly, and a lot of books now, I've seen it a lot more in the last few years, where you'll see something about, some business guru is giving their book away for free. All you have to do is pay shipping, or, they're selling it at like $1.99, something ridiculous. And you get the physical book mailed to you, and you go through it, and it is the equivalent of a lead magnet, which is where, you enter your email address for a free resource, but then they start like pitching new products to you constantly. Everybody's done that, where you've signed up for something and then you ended up just getting bombarded. It's the same thing, but it's a book that sells you something bigger later on, and they're taking a small hit by selling the physical book for very cheap, but it leads to a greater purchase for that individual, because they've hooked you by sending you an item, a physical thing. So just be careful, especially like what you said, Deborah, about the books. I just had it happen a couple of years ago, which I liked the idea of it, but I caught on very quickly to what the free book I received actually was. It was the Ryan Levesque Ask Formula on email marketing, and I got the book for free. I just had to pay like a couple dollars shipping, but it was just a pitch in book form for a large course that he was selling for several $1,000s. So I didn't learn a whole lot from it, and it's a waste of time. So, and YouTubers can be the same way. Everybody's opted in for one of those, free webinar, but then the webinar itself is nothing but a sales pitch the whole time. Those are the
Yeah,
worst.
like 45 minutes of a sales
Yes.
pitch. Like, can you teach me the thing you promised? Nope.
Exactly. That's one thing that you'll never get from me or Pam or eRank. If we say we're going to teach you something, we're going to teach you that thing.
Absolutely. Starla's webinars are packed full of stuff, not stuff, advice. Stuff sounds very rude. I would say, like, I've not done it in books because I've stopped reading so much. I used to read hundreds. I've got to read some more. But in a video form, what I would say is, if there's people who are doing 40 different things, oh, I tried day trading, I tried this, I watch them for entertainment. I don't watch them to learn. And a lot of them can be really entertaining. But there's a whole bunch of people that basically do something for a month so they learn enough so they can sell a course to make money. And I hate that so much. They have not learnt in a month the intricacies of whatever platform they're trying to teach you. So yeah, you want someone that has some in the weeds decent amount of time learning about something, while at the same time they need to have some up-to-date experience as well. So they need to, like, okay, Starla's shop has been shut for a while, but she has another shop and she's coaching. She deals with hundreds of clients every week, hundreds of people who are selling, so she's still up to date. Whereas if someone had done something 10 years ago and they've stopped doing it and they want to tell you how they did the thing 10 years ago, that's not relevant anymore. So
Yeah,
it's finding the right thing.
finding somebody who has a current vested interest in a singular thing. Every once in a while I'll teach how to optimize your Instagram business account, but it all ties back to handmade businesses and Etsy. I'm never going to teach a course on how to do Amazon drop shipping. I'm never, because it doesn't have anything to do with what I represent. And you're never going to see Pam teach a course on how to do eBay, selling. It's we clearly have a very specific interest. And every once in a while I'll make a video about Redbubble or something, but that's because you can sell art there and photography and things that, at their core could also work well for an Etsy seller who are, that's primarily who I want to help. So just try to make sure that the person that you're following is very, very invested in what you're interested in learning, and not just, oh, they just happen to cover a little bit of that, but they also cover 10 other things.
Yeah, well, it's all totally relevant. Like, you learnt about Instagram Reels, not because you're an expert on Instagram, but because you were using Instagram for your selling.
Exactly.
So you're not selling yourself as an Instagram expert, but you're selling yourself as, here is how to use this tool to help you with what you're doing on Etsy. So it's different things. You're not going off topic with it.
Yeah. Nor am I selling a Instagram master course.
Oh, that would be cool.
I don't feel like I'm qualified enough for that. I do have my free 30-day Instagram challenge, but that's free, so that's fun.
Oh,
Um,
exactly. And those real cool things that help people, that are relevant, that help people with their Etsy shop.
exactly.
If Starla starts teaching you how to become an Instagram influencer for megabucks, then run away. Although she would be good at it, but still run away.
All right, let's see. Tina asked, has Anthony looked into getting data from Fair Marketplace to keep an eye on retailer trends? Just curious, as I'm dealing a lot with my wholesale stuff right now and narrowing down what products I offer. So we looked at Fair last year, and at the time, our data provider did not have enough. It would have been one of those cases where, you know how every once in a while you'll type in kind of an obscure term into the keyword tool and it'll say that there's no results, and you're like, oh, that's bogus. I know people are searching for this. It's just a gap in our data. With Fair data, it was all gaps in our data. It was no matter what we searched, there were gaps in the data. just because there aren't as many people shopping on Faire as there are on Etsy. So being able to also get our hands on data that is valuable was almost impossible. Now that was a year ago. I would be happy to bring it up with him next week during our monthly meeting and see if we can, check to see if it's gotten any better, if maybe over the last few, months they've gotten more customers. Um, but if not, the data that we would have been able to get would not have been of real value to you, so it just wouldn't have been worth it, and it would have done um more frustrating, I guess, to the eRank customers than it would be beneficial. Because if you're trying to find a specific thing and you're only getting, oh, we have no results for that, it makes it look like eRank are the dummies when in reality the data just doesn't exist.
Yeah, this is where it gets tough because we are
Yeah.
trying to give more data, but quite a lot of the time there just isn't enough compared to things like Etsy, eBay, Amazon. They're big. Everything else is unfortunately so small that it's really kind of difficult to get trends from it.
Yeah. Let's see. Trying to, oh, okay. Gail had asked, oh, that was 10 minutes ago. I hope you're still here, Gail. What are some good tips for selecting competitors to watch on eRank? If I'm in the US, should I avoid other countries? I don't think you should, because you're competing with them. For everybody's got a couple shops that they kind of admire from afar that do what they do, but they're like, you're sitting there thinking, how are they doing that? Or how are they getting so many sales? Or how do their pictures look so good? Um, those are the shops that I would keep an eye on if I were you. But if you're not able to find them easily, or you don't already have some in mind, head over to the keyword tool and type in a couple keywords associated with what you sell, and then scroll down to the top performing listings, or the top ranking listings for those terms, and you'll be able to find some, different shops.
Yeah, I don't actually spend that much time worrying about competitors.
Me neither.
It's it's a cool thing to have. There's sort of 2 types of competitors. There's the big ones. So you search for the broad keywords in your niche and you see who the big guys are. They are your inspiration to look and see, is there a possibility to make a living out of what I'm doing? Yes, there's some big guys that are doing well. They can also be a cool inspiration for things like if you sneak into their social media or look at their reviews and see what people are having problems with. Is there a way round that? If people are saying this is lovely, but I wish it was in green, you can, hey, can I do something in green? So that gives you some kind of ideas. But you're not following them and expecting you're going to have the same number of sales or you want to copy their keywords or anything. That's not going to happen. You have the other kind of competitors that are at the similar kind of level of you, and they're just, for me, it's just an idea. If you get some guys that get a similar amount of sales than you, then if you look and go, oh, I'm feeling kind of quiet, and you look on and you see that maybe they've got sales that have dropped as well, you think, okay, maybe it's a seasonal dip. Or if they haven't, then okay, what's different with me? What can I do different? Fun fact: when I started on YouTube, the competitor that I looked up to was her. I remember seeing her, and I was like, "Wow, look at this great person, and she's so fun, and she's got so many people following her." So she was my competitor, and now she's sitting next to me virtually. It's very
Did I,
strange.
did I have like 2,000 subscribers at the time?
It was something that it felt so massive. I had about 200, so you had 10 times my number. I was like, "Wow, this person's so amazing."
I'm flattered, but I felt very small at that time.
I
And
don't
at
think
that
you
time,
ever
huh?
I don't think you ever not feel small.
No, no. At that time, I was looking at people like Nancy, just like, oh, I wish I could be like her.
Yep, that's it. We're always looking up to someone, and we're always feeling like we're not good enough.
Yeah, I'm still doing that with Nancy, looking at her channel like, oh, she's so perfect.
I know. Same. Nancy's amazing.
um, Ooh, Abigail, she said, where are the Hooten snippets? I have the new app and it's not showing my saved snippets. They don't show on desktop either. I'm on Android if that's it, or if that is anything. On the old app, I used to be able to leave a review. Oh, wait, I used to be able to contact the buyer when they left a review. On the new app, you have to go into your reviews and find them. Is there a workaround on that as well? So for snippets, I don't think they call them snippets anymore. They're just called saved replies, saved responses. That new app is not done. Um,
A few people were mentioning the other day there's glitches with the app. I don't know. I don't use the app, but there does seem to be issues with it just now. So yeah, maybe use the old one for a little while until they sort it out.
yeah, because she said she's not even seeing them on desktop anymore. I have no idea where they could have gone.
I don't know because I only use one. I'm very bad. Starla has a whole suite of messages to send to people, and I have one. I'm just trying to see if I can see them. I've got at the bottom of my screen, yeah, I've got frequently saved replies just at underneath the message. I think it's just called different, but it's still there.
Yeah,
You
it's
might
saved
have to
replies.
scroll down, yeah.
Because they used to be in the top, like in the upper right corner. So now they're underneath in like
Yeah.
little gray bubbles, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's underneath. And what might be happening on my screen, you can't see them. And when you try and scroll, it's scrolling in the chat box, but you've got to go under the chat box to scroll the entire screen, if that makes sense. But yes, it's just below the chat box, but it's down a bit.
Yeah. And as for not knowing how to contact your buyers after reviews, like I said, the new app is not done. It's most people are just using the old app and the new app together because yeah, the new app doesn't seem to be great.
Yeah, they're taking a long time to get that sorted. It's surprising. I'm sure it'll be
We still don't
okay.
have Etsy Explorer for Android.
Yes, yeah, forget about the new app. Give us Explore because this is really not fair, and I think this is gonna be huge if they can get their backsides into gear.
Yeah. All right, Linda, where have you been, Linda? Did you just now pop in? When you add your shop link, is there a way to get it to land on your recent items? Mine goes right to the old listings. I hope that makes sense. You could, you know what? I'm not sure. I was gonna say maybe if you filtered, you have the option in your storefront to hit filter, and you filtered by newest, and then attempted to copy the link. It might change the back end code, but I need to. I would.
Yeah, it does. I just checked. You get a long thing that goes sort order date at the end. Sort order equals date.
Perfect.
So that should work.
Yeah. That would be especially helpful if you were like sending out an email campaign and you were putting a button in and you wanted to say like see our newest items and then they clicked on it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
as big and ugly as just copying a link. But yeah, if you're doing it on a button or something or a shortened link, it'll look good.
yeah, you should right from your storefront on the right side under your banner, you should have an option to filter. Um, Click that and just sort and then copy the full URL with the crazy little code at the end with all the numbers and bibbits and bops, and you should be able to, but check it too. Grab that link, copy it, and then paste it into a separate tab, and just to make sure that it works before you start, posting it everywhere. And if it does work and it's super long, you could always take it into bit.ly, bit.ly, and shorten up that link. And even if you don't have a paid subscription to bit.ly, you can customize the back end. So it'll be like bit.ly/new collection, seashell collection, if you wanted to do it that way. So
Yeah. I know Linda doesn't need this, but just for everybody, I will say, because I have noticed a few times, If you're going to check that a link works, log out of your shop, because I am seeing quite often when people are trying to share their shop link, they are in their seller dashboard, they're not in their shop. So check you're actually putting it'll have your shop name in the link somewhere, not dashboard or listings or something, because that is it's such an easy mistake, but so many people do it.
Yeah, and rule of thumb is to always pop links before that you share them into either an incognito tab or have a separate browser. You know, I use Chrome, but I always keep Edge around just so I can do things like double check links real quick to make sure that they work. And that helps you from making embarrassing mistakes, which I have also done
Yeah,
plenty.
we've all done it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
All right, guys. Well, we are at the 4-minute mark and there are no more questions. So I think that we're probably good to cut it. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. If you are watching from YouTube, make sure that you join the eRank group link down below on Facebook. That way, if for any reason you're not able to join us live and you have a question on Wednesdays, there's a post pinned right to the top of the eRank group wall. So you can go in there, add your question, and cut in line and make sure that we, answer it before everybody else so you don't miss anything. Other than that, guys, we hope you have an awesome weekend and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, guys, and see you next week.